Now clearly here at CarWale, we love our cars and everything around them. In fact, we like driving all sorts of cars and we pretty much talk about them all the time. But we also appreciate the fact that not everybody is as obsessed as we are, and if you are that person and all you're looking for is a simple, reasonably priced small car that can get you from A to B in decent comfort, then this car right here, the all-new Maruti Alto K10, should be on top of your list. So what's exactly new on the Alto K10? Well, I've got exactly 6 hours with it, and in that time, I'm going to test it and talk you through its design, its interior, how it feels like, and I'm also going to take it for a drive and tell you what it's like. And finally, I'm going to talk about the price and tell you if you should consider it or just go right ahead and buy it. My name is Sagar and you're watching CarWale. So it's been 2 years since Maruti stopped selling the old Alto K10, and if I'm honest, I was never really a fan of that design. To me, its profile looked too plain Jane and it had unusually large tail lights and headlights, which to my eyes messed up the overall look. Now when I look at this new K10, I'm so glad that it doesn't take after its predecessor at all. In fact, I love that this new model, it makes no bones about it being a very basic hatch. So it's all simple lines and clean design elements when it comes to bodywork. So at the front, you have this simple and flat bumper with a large air dam which has this honeycomb pattern to it. Now, like I said, it's all simple and basic. So you have these halogen headlights and the Suzuki logo in the middle, and that's pretty much it. You don't even get flashy LED daytime running lights or even fog lights. Now, speaking of fog lights, usually you have provisions in the bumper even when the car doesn't get fog lamps, but it's not the case here, as you can see. Moving on to the profile, you have side indicators on the front fender. Of course, it doesn't come on the wing mirror. Speaking of which, it's black and not body colored this time around. The other visual cue that screams budget are these tires. Now, these are 13 inches 145 section tires, which may look really small, but at least the profile is high, and which means good bump absorption and resistance to sharp-edged potholes. Talking about boot space, there's 214 liters of it, which is actually good considering how compact the Alto K10 is. It's 37 liters more than the previous model, and in terms of usage, you can utilize a lot of it because the usable area is flat and it has limited intrusions. So this is one area where I feel the Alto's looks have improved the most. I mean, it doesn't look as bulky as it used to, and that's mainly down to these smaller, more appealing looking tail lights. Now, of course, you don't get a rear wiper or even an electronic switch to open the tailgate. You still have to use the good old key to open that. So all in all, that's about it from me about this new simple and clean design, and it really works for me because it's not pretentious at all. Some of you might not see it, but there are certain features and design elements in here that have been borrowed from more expensive Maruti models, and that's a nice thing. So things like this steering wheel, you'll also find this on the Ignis and the Wagoner. Then there's this touchscreen infotainment display, which is also shared with the Wagoner and the Celerio. And while I'm looking at it, I can also see that the new Alto K10, it shares its window switches with the Espresso. Talking of quality levels and fit and finish, both are acceptable at this price point. Now, even though you have scratchy plastics all over this cabin, they do look hard wearing. Now, the Alto K10, it's a small car, so naturally its cabin is also relatively small. Now, the upshot here is that all the controls here are within easy reach, and it takes no effort whatsoever to do even things like adjust the wing mirror and the passenger side seat from all the way here. Speaking of new features, I've got a digital instrument cluster here, steering mounted audio controls, and of course the 7-inch touchscreen infotainment system with Bluetooth and, get this, Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. For safety, there's dual airbags, ABS, EBD and rear parking sensors. So there's that. Now, what are the things that even an Alto buyer might miss? For starters, I think rear power windows and electric mirrors would have made this cabin a lot more practical. The other area where the new Alto K10 is better than the old car is right here at the back, and it's the amount of space that I have with the front seat adjusted to my height. Now, as you can see, there's a decent amount of knee room and the headroom is actually good. Now, I will admit this seat base, it's a little short and I am lacking some under-thigh support because of it. But then again, the Alto is a small car and in that context, it's just fine. Overall scheme of things, there's nothing extra or sumptuous in here, but I have to say that for two people, it is a comfortable space to be in. There's nothing extra when it comes to powertrain either. So there's one engine and two gearbox options, a 5-speed manual and a 5-speed AMT. And what we have here is the AMT version, which I believe is going to be the pick for majority of Alto buyers. So in terms of usage, it's not the most seamless when it comes to gear shifts, especially when going up the gears. But you know what? It really doesn't matter because at the end of the day, it does exactly what it says on the box. It's more convenient and easier to drive than a manual in traffic, especially for new drivers and for those who are planning to shift into the world of automatics. This AMT gearbox, it'll do the job just fine. Under part throttle, it's smooth in its operation and gear shifts in general, they are imperceptible for the most part. Maruti has switched to their Heartect platform for the new K10, and we believe it has made it even lighter than before. As for the engine, the updated K10C delivers the slightest of improvement in tame fuel efficiency over the old K10B engine. In fact, the Alto K10 is now rated at 24.39 kmpl for the manual and 24.90 kmpl for the automatic. We will be doing a fuel economy test for city and highway when we get the Alto later for an extended period. So do look forward to it and make sure you're subscribed to this channel. This 1-liter 3-cylinder engine is a strong unit and we have seen that already in the Celerio. So to have it in a car that's even smaller and lighter makes the new Alto K10 quite peppy in the city. It'll get off the mark cleanly in second gear using the clutch alone, and although we do not recommend you do that, especially when the car is under full load, it is nice to know that this engine is tractable and user-friendly. What's not so nice, however, is the steering, which I feel is too heavy at low speeds, especially when you'll be parallel parking. And not like it weighs up adequately when you up the pace. There's always some level of vagueness around the dead center position. This engine, it also gets very loud at high RPMs, and when you factor in the limited sound deadening, it becomes very clear that the Alto is not a car that you will relish driving fast at triple-digit speeds on the highway. So the new Alto K10 range starts at a very reasonable 3.99 lakh rupees, and if you want this car, which is a VXI Plus AMT, you will have to spend nearly 5,85,000 rupees, which I admit is a lot of money. And I'm assuming if you're watching this, you do not expect me to say that the new Alto K10, it's a very exciting or a very lovable car, and I will not surprise you there. In all fairness, the new Alto K10 is nippy. It has enough space for a small family of 4, a decent features list, and even in this most expensive AMT trim, it represents good value. And you know what? For a majority of small car buyers, that's the most important thing when it comes down to making that purchase.